Birmingham built itself on things you were never meant to see. The city that forged a quarter of the world's manufactured goods in the 19th century did not do it in the open. It did it in back rooms and basement workshops and underground tunnels that ran beneath streets where respectable people walked to church on Sundays. 2 centuries later, the back rooms are still there. The doors are still locked. And the city would very much prefer you did not ask what is behind them. Birmingham has more miles of canal than Venice. That fact appears on every tourism leaflet the city has ever printed. What the leaflets do not mention is that sections of the canal network running directly beneath the city centre have been sealed off from public access since the middle of the 20th century. Tunnel sections beneath Broad Street and Gas Street Basin were bricked up or fitted with steel gates during post-war reconstruction. The Canal and River Trust maintains these sections, but permits no public entry. Structural surveys held in Birmingham City Council planning archives note significant concerns regarding subsidence and masonry degradation in the tunnels. The Victorian brickwork is still intact in places. The water still moves through them. Urban explorers who have documented sections online describe exposed brickwork, standing water, and graffiti from decades that nobody alive can pin down with certainty. Former Canal and River Trust maintenance workers have posted on community forums describing tunnel sections they were instructed not to photograph. The canals that made Birmingham one of the wealthiest cities in the Industrial Revolution now run beneath shopping centres and apartment blocks in permanent darkness. You walk above them every time you cross Broad Street. You are not allowed to see what is underneath. Moving east into the gun quarter, we find a building that has been making controlled explosions since 1813. The Birmingham Proof House on Banbury Street is the oldest working proof house in the world. Every commercially sold firearm in the United Kingdom must be tested before it can legally enter the market. This is not optional. It is required by the Gun Barrel Proof Act of 1868, updated in 1978. The process is brutally simple. Each weapon is loaded with a deliberately excessive charge and fired. If the barrel survives the overpressure without cracking or deforming, the weapon is stamped with a proof mark and certified safe. If it does not survive, it is destroyed. Only 2 proof houses operate in the entire country, in Birmingham and in London. The archives inside this building contain records of every single firearm proofed since 1813. Millions of entries span over 2 centuries. Public access is strictly forbidden during testing operations. The building is classified as an active ballistics facility. Locals who work and live on Banbury Street have learned to recognize the sound. One resident on a Birmingham community forum described it plainly. Sounds like someone slamming a heavy door, over and over, all day long. 200 years of controlled explosions behind a locked door in the middle of a residential neighborhood. The neighbors have learned not to flinch. A short walk northwest brings us to Warstone Lane Cemetery, and something altogether more unsettling. The cemetery opened in 1848 as one of Birmingham's first municipal burial grounds. It is a handsome place. Trees line the paths. Victorian headstones lean at angles that suggest both age and exhaustion. Dog walkers and joggers use it daily. What they pass without entering are the catacombs built into the hillside beneath the cemetery grounds. These are brick-vaulted underground chambers designed to hold coffins in wall niches in the Roman style. Historic England describes them as a rare surviving example of Anglican burial architecture in the Midlands and lists the site at Grade 2 starred. Birmingham City Council sealed the catacombs from public access in the late 20th century, citing structural deterioration and antisocial behaviour. Steel gates and council warning signs now block every entrance. The Friends of Key Hill and Warstone Lane cemeteries have campaigned for restoration and heritage access for years. The Birmingham Mail reported in 2019 on renewed interest in opening the catacombs for guided tours. As of 2025, nothing has changed. Above ground, the living walk their dogs. Below ground, the Victorian dead rest in chambers that no living person has officially entered for longer than most of those joggers have been alive. Crossing into Victoria Square, we reach the civic heart of Birmingham. The council house has been the seat of city government since 1879. Its grand facade looks out over the square with the kind of confidence that only Victorian civic architecture can project. Beneath it sits a secure strong room that the public has never been permitted to enter. The vault holds the city's charter collection, including the original royal charter granted by Henry VI in 1448. Municipal records dating to the 13th century are stored here alongside civic regalia and documents that define Birmingham's legal right to exist as a governed city. Birmingham City Council's own website notes that certain collections are not available for public consultation due to conservation and security requirements. Historians working on Birmingham's civic history have described in academic publications the difficulty of accessing specific documents held within the vault. The papers that prove Birmingham is a city sit locked beneath the building where the city council meets. The citizens those documents serve are not allowed to see them. Now we move to a piece of infrastructure that everyone in Britain recognises, but almost nobody truly understands. Gravelly Hill Interchange, Spaghetti Junction, opened in 1972 and designed by Owen Williams and Partners. It carries approximately 210,000 vehicles every day, according to National Highways data. What is not visible from the road is the network of service tunnels and maintenance corridors built into the structure itself. These tunnels run through the concrete supports and beneath the carriageways. Access is restricted to National Highways maintenance crews and emergency services. Structural inspection reports obtained through Freedom of Information requests describe internal corridors, drainage systems, and inspection chambers of considerable size. Former maintenance workers have posted on community forums describing tunnels wide enough to drive a van through. The spaces beneath the junction between the River Tame and the Canal supports have also become an unofficial shelter for rough sleepers, documented by Birmingham Homelessness Partnership and by local press. National Highways has installed security fencing and prohibition signage. Periodic clearances are carried out. 200,000 people a day pass over Spaghetti Junction. Beneath them, in tunnels they will never see, engineers inspect concrete that is now over 50 years old and was originally designed to last 60 years. The arithmetic is not comforting. On Newhall Street we find a building that was designed to survive the end of the world. The Anchor Telephone Exchange is a British telecom facility built in the 1960s as part of the Backbone network. This was the United Kingdom's hardened communications infrastructure, engineered to continue functioning during and after a nuclear attack. Several floors of the building have no windows. This is not an oversight. It is a deliberate design feature intended to protect equipment from electromagnetic pulse. The building is classified as critical national infrastructure under the Centre for the Protection of National Infrastructure Guidelines. Public access has never been permitted. There are no heritage tours, no academic visits, no filming. Local history groups have noted the building's strangeness. A brutalist block on a busy city centre street with no signage, no visible entrance at ground level, and security cameras covering every angle. Former British telecom engineers on community forums have described floors that required separate clearance and rooms that had no name on the door. You have almost certainly walked past this building. You may have waited for a bus beside it. It has no sign. It has no windows where it matters. And during the Cold War, the people who built it considered it more important than most of the city around it. Directly nearby on Newhall Street stands another building whose contents are worth more than its appearance suggests. The Birmingham Assay Office has been operating since 1773. Over 250 years of testing and hallmarking precious metals. Every piece of gold, silver, platinum and palladium sold commercially in the region must be stamped here. The anchor hallmark that identifies Birmingham has been applied to precious metals since the office opened. The office hallmarks approximately 12 million articles per year. The vault where metals are stored before testing holds submissions from jewelers, manufacturers, and dealers from across the country. Security protocols exceed most banking institutions. Biometric access, 24-hour monitoring, and reinforced construction that is not detailed in any public document. Public tours of the assay office exist. They do not include the vault or the testing laboratories. Those pieces of gold and silver pass through the building on Newhall Street every year. The vault where they rest holds more concentrated wealth per square metre than almost any room in the city. The door does not open for you. East into Digbeth now, where the oldest grand railway building in the world sits behind construction hoarding. Curzon Street Station opened in 1838 as the Birmingham terminus of the London and Birmingham Railway. It was designed by Philip Hardwick, the same architect responsible for the Euston Arch in London, which was controversially demolished in 1962. The surviving entrance building at Curzon Street is Grade 1 listed, the highest level of heritage protection available in England. Since HS2 construction began, the building and its surrounding area have been enclosed within a restricted construction zone. Public access has been withdrawn. The building is visible only at a distance through security fencing and hoarding. HS2. Limited confirmed in planning documents that the historic structure will be incorporated into the new station design. The timeline for that incorporation remains uncertain. Local heritage campaigners have expressed growing concern on community forums about the condition of the building during what has become a prolonged and repeatedly delayed construction program. The original train shed behind the entrance was demolished in the 1960s. Only the frontispiece survives. The oldest grand railway building in the world is waiting behind a fence in Digbeth for a railway that has been debated, delayed, and scaled back for over a decade. The building has been there since 1838. It is used to patients. North to Nechells, where Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery keeps the things it does not have room to show you. The Collection Centre on Dolman Street holds the reserve collections of Birmingham Museums Trust. Over 800,000 objects, paintings, archaeological finds, social history artefacts, and industrial heritage pieces. Less than 10% of the total collection is on public display at any given time, according to the Trust's own annual reports. The facility has climate-controlled storage, secure loading bays, and conservation laboratories. Public access is not permitted except by prior appointment for accredited researchers. The collection includes objects from the Staffordshire Hoard, the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold ever found in the world. Community campaigns have periodically called for greater public access. The Trust cites conservation requirements and funding constraints. Over 700,000 objects belonging to the people of Birmingham sit in a warehouse in Nechells. They belong to the city. The city is not allowed to see them. Heading out toward the M6, the enormous shape of Fort Dunlop looms beside the motorway. This vast factory was built in 1916 for the Dunlop Rubber Company. At its peak, it employed over 10,000 workers and was approximately 500 feet long, once the largest single factory building in the British Empire. From 2004 onwards, the developer Urban Splash converted the ground floors into offices, a hotel, and a travelodge. But the upper floors and substantial sections of the original factory structure were never converted. Access to these unconverted areas is restricted. Structural assessments cited in planning applications note areas of significant deterioration. Former Dunlop employees on local history forums describe floors that have not been touched since the last shift walked out. Original machinery mountings, paint markings, and factory signage reportedly survive in sealed sections. Birmingham City Council planning records show no current applications for further development. 10,000 people earned their living in this building. Half of it has been turned into budget hotel rooms and serviced offices. The other half sits in the dark, exactly as they left it. Travelling southwest to Hagley Road, we reach the Birmingham Oratory. Founded by John Henry Newman in 1849, this is one of the most significant Catholic churches in England. Newman was canonised by Pope Francis in 2019, making the Oratory a site of international Catholic pilgrimage. Newman was originally buried at the Oratory's country house graveyard at Rednall. When his grave was exhumed, it was found that his wooden coffin and remains had biodegraded entirely. Nothing physical remained. The Oratory crypt on Hagley Road holds the remains of other Oratorian fathers who followed Newman. The church above is open for worship and visitors. The crypt is not. The Oratory's own communications describe it as a place of private prayer for the community, not a public space. A saint of the Catholic Church was buried at Rednall. His body returned to the earth before anyone could retrieve it. The crypt remains, holding the brothers who served beside him. The door is closed. The prayers are private. In South Birmingham, tucked between housing estates and playing fields, lies the patch of bogland that gave the world Moseley Bog. Moseley Bog is where J.R.R. Tolkien played as a child, growing up in nearby Sarahole in the 1890s. Scholars have traced specific landscape features of the bog to passages in The Lord of the Rings. The tangled, wet woodland, the dark pools, the trees that seem to lean with intent. This is the Old Forest. This is the Dead Marshes. The bog is now a local nature reserve managed by the Wildlife Trust for Birmingham and the Black Country. It contains ancient wet woodland, rare plant species, and protected wildlife habitat. Sections of the bog are fenced and signed as restricted access. The Wildlife Trust Management Plan states that public entry to these areas would cause irreversible ecological damage. Tolkien enthusiasts on community forums express quiet frustration. The paths circle the restricted zones. You can see the trees. You cannot walk among them. Tolkien could. You cannot. Back in Nechells, the remains of the Windsor Street gasworks sit behind security fencing that has not moved in years. This site manufactured gas for Birmingham's domestic supply from the mid-19th century until decommissioning. The land is classified as contaminated under Part 2A of the Environmental Protection Act, 1990. Birmingham City Council environmental health records confirm the presence of coal tar residues, heavy metals, and other industrial contaminants in the soil. The site has been fenced off for decades. Redevelopment proposals have been submitted and withdrawn multiple times. Remediation costs are cited as prohibitive. Nechells is one of the most deprived wards in the entire city, according to the Index of Multiple Deprivation. Residents posting on community forums have said plainly that they live next to a poisoned field that nobody will clean up and nobody will explain. The gas that lit Birmingham's homes for 100 years was manufactured here. The families who benefited moved on long ago. The families who remain live beside soil that cannot be touched. The fence is the only investment Nechells has seen from the site in decades. South to Longbridge, where the landscape has been transformed beyond recognition. The Longbridge plant operated from 1905 to 2005, producing Austin, Morris, Rover and MG vehicles across a site covering 370 acres. At its peak, over 25,000 workers were employed here. It was one of the largest car manufacturing complexes in Europe. Following the collapse of MG Rover in 2005, the site was partially redeveloped by St Modwyn Properties. New housing, retail units, and a college now occupy parts of the former plant. But beneath the new builds, a network of service tunnels and underground infrastructure remains sealed. St Modwyn planning documents reference below-ground structures retained in situ. Former Longbridge workers on community forums describe tunnels wide enough for electric carts that ran the entire length of the works. The new residents of Longbridge live above an industrial underworld they cannot access and may not know exists. They park their cars, made elsewhere, above the ghosts of the production lines where 25,000 people once built them. We end in the jewellery quarter. This is roughly 1 square mile of workshops, studios and factories producing approximately 40% of all jewellery manufactured in the United Kingdom. The Jewellery Quarter Development Trust estimates annual production output in excess of £2 billion. Over 500 businesses operate here, many of them in Victorian-era workshops that have been in continuous use since they were built. Those original workshops were constructed with integrated vaults, brick-lined, iron-doored, built to resist fire and forced entry. Modern security has been layered on top. Biometric access systems, time-locked doors, motion sensors, and private security patrols operate around the clock. No member of the public has access to any working vault. Even adjacent business owners cannot enter their neighbors' strong rooms. Insurance requirements mandate that vault locations, contents, and security specifications are never disclosed. Former workers on Birmingham forums describe workshops where you passed through 3 locked doors before you reached the bench, and vaults beneath the floorboards that you worked above all day and never once saw inside. 40% of British jewellery comes from these streets. The gold is shaped in workshops where the windows are still the ones the Victorians fitted. The vaults sit beneath the floorboards. The craftspeople work above them, as their grandfathers did, and their great-grandfathers before that. The doors have not opened for you. They were never meant to. Some things in Birmingham are made in the light and kept in the dark, and the city has been doing it this way for 200 years. The pavements above the vaults are worn smooth. People walk on them every day. They do not look down.